Welcome back to Valiant Effort. I'm Nick.
I'm Ted.
I'm Josh.
And today we're driving a 2021 GTI. So, Josh, you daily drive a 2017 Toyota Tacoma, which arguably not the most luxurious, not the most plush,
Not the most
but
performance-oriented.
right, but it's a utilitarian vehicle.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the interior so far and like the German quality?
German quality. I don't know if I like that term, German quality, but it's not bad. Overall, I like it. I will say the one thing that kind of annoys me is that on the first glance, the dash looks like the cheap plastic, but it isn't.
Yeah, that's true. It's actually soft touch.
Yeah, it's got some
give to it.
Some give to it, but it reminds me of the same kind of plastic that was in my 2001 Saturn that I drove for a while. But that was tan, not black. I mean, but it looks nice. I love the piano gloss black everywhere that they've done around the infotainment, around the gauge cluster.
I really like that it goes around the gauge cluster.
Big fan of that.
It looks really sharp.
We did take a look. It is harder to keep. I mean, it's piano black, so you said it's harder to keep clean.
Yeah, of course. What do you think about the layout of everything? Just since you haven't lived with the car for that long, Nick has, so obviously he's going to get used to it. But what about your impression? So I've always had kind of a back and forth with the cockpit kind of style where the infotainment is kind of oriented towards the driver. I mean, it's barely turned.
It's barely turned in this one, but it is noticeably, and I like that in this one.
Okay.
I like the feeling as the driver. I dislike it more as the passenger.
See, I know what you mean. My parents had an Astro in the 90s, and that, we'll put a picture up of that. That, center console area was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like a 35-degree turn.
This, I don't feel like as the passenger, I can reach over, change the volume, tune knob,
which is great because you mentioned volume.
I'm going to put my heated seat up.
The volume is a knob.
It is. I like the volume knob.
Which is wonderful. It's a knob for the volume and the tune, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's on the steering wheel, which is okay. We'll talk about that in a second. But the fact that it has knobs and physical buttons for things on the center console is a big yes for me.
Heated seats, physical button.
You don't have to go searching for them in a
menu.
In the menu,
I can
anywhere.
Close my eyes and find it.
If you really need to.
Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you're pressing it. But yeah, all of your air controls are knobs. You've got a volume knob. You've got a tuning knob, which is what I have on the Tacoma, and so it's what I'm used to, which I really like.
We forgot to take this
left again. Hey, there.
Like the fourth time. Every single person.
Anyway,
that's funny.
Because I just think the design here is so clean. Everything's very symmetrical, and there's no blanks up here. It's just everything's right where you need it, right where you'd expect it to be. But that's what Germans are good at that.
Yeah, it's not like you're missing any buttons.
Yeah.
Right.
Except over here.
Yeah, but still.
But what would they even be?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. Yeah. I think that's just it's just the bezel.
Just blank for probably the Golf R or something.
Oh.
And down there, you do mention it. You have still a 12-volt outlet.
Yes. And here
which
comes...
is weird.
It comes maybe not the biggest... Well, there's not a ton of negatives about this car in general, but something
my
that we
least
noticed,
favorite, I think,
yeah,
is that you have a 12-volt outlet, and your only other option for receiving power is a USB-C. Not a USB 3.0, but a USB-C, which I know
it's where we're going.
Phone makers are going that direction.
Yeah.
But it just feels like they jumped. They're like, people can get an adapter for the 12 volt. Like, let's just leave that there. And then...
Especially because we were we just reviewed a 2015 Q5, which had no USB ports.
Yeah.
But two 12 volts.
And now we're in a car that has only USB-C. Yeah.
Josh, what do you think about the frameless rear view mirror?
Ooh. I didn't even notice.
I'm not going to lie. I first just noticed that now, too.
It's really nice, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks really nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful.
It's kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
Pretty.
It's almost like it doesn't belong in the car.
No, it is kind of awkward, though, because you move it and, like, you're bound to touch the glass.
Yeah.
I can see that as a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I didn't notice it, because I haven't really moved it.
Yeah, it
'cause
could
it's
be.
kind of in an okay spot.
Yeah.
You want to know what Nick's favorite feature of the whole car is? LED interior lights. Oh,
there you go.
yeah, LED.
Yeah. I mean, it blows my mind that certain cars still don't have LED interior lights.
Even though it's a Golf, it's not, like we said, it's not fair to compare it to the Audi or anything like that. But it's nice. Everything's well put together. It looks good. You can, like, the quality of the materials, and you can touch them all. They're very solid and nice.
Yeah.
You've got the aluminum door handles and the aluminum engine start-stop button. Like, all that stuff's just, it really adds to, because if you think about, the average person drives 15,000 miles a year. I mean, think of the time that you're spending in this seat.
Or in this seat.
Or in that seat.
Yeah,
Right.
hopefully it's in this seat.
You want it to be,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of weird.
You want it to be the nicest place possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that. I mean,
I will say, to your point about aluminum, I love the aluminum trim on the steering wheel with the GTI logo.
Yeah.
What I don't love about the steering wheel is how busy it is.
So, for right now, from the back seat, I can count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, so 18 buttons.
Plus the horn.
Right. Right.
So you have 19 different buttons on your steering wheel, and you've got the paddles on the back.
True.
And like, I feel like I can't, I basically have to drive it
Yes.
on the wheel.
Yeah.
I can't drive it in the middle like I do my truck sometimes.
Huh.
Like
But the parts that you touch,
holding one side
Beautiful.
like that. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So far, we loved the new 2021 GTI. The seats were a little bit hard and the ride was a little bit stiff, but overall the interior quality was really good, and we found that we really liked it as a daily driver. But the GTI was made to be more than a daily driver, to be a little bit of fun and to have some performance too.
Okay.
Alright, so you've had this car for like 5 weeks now. Josh and I have both driven it a little bit over that time period. How do you like it as a new daily?
So,
Well, it's not your daily.
right. So, I kind of like it more than the S4, to be quite honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there's a lot of love loss with the manual right now.
Okay.
I'm kind of done driving 25,000 miles a year in traffic with a manual.
Yeah.
And I did always like the S4 more than the Q5, which we just reviewed as well, but I feel like this car bridges the gap perfectly. It's the right amount of performance and just a perfect all-around daily driver.
Yeah. And certainly, oh, Jesus.
So because you've been tired of your manual, how do you feel this handles in traffic? Is it the automatic is just great, or is the rest of the car great too?
So a lot of the reason that I really like it is the DSG is really enjoyable, and I think it handles traffic really well, especially compared to a single clutch, which granted is not a common transmission, but I don't know, it's just very comfortable in all traffic, and I think that performance-wise, you have all the power where you need it.
Yeah. And as far as just our little trips around town, I mean, you don't really notice that it's not a regular torque converter automatic when you're just driving it like
No.
nice and calm.
No, not at all. I mean,
But then when you put it in, it's just quick.
Well, what I like about this compared to the ST
Yeah.
is that, both, and like, this did bother me on a daily basis, but the ST had terrible torque steer. And
yeah, it did.
you know, like you'd be pulling out of a parking lot and all of a sudden you just hear tire squeal. Like it didn't matter what the circumstance was. It would just break loose. And this, because of, you know, the limited slip diff, it's just so good.
It handles its power much better.
But I know, Ted, that's what you were saying when you drove it around the corners, is that you like how it feels, and even though it's not rear-wheel drive, having the limited slip up front feels better to you, right? Is that kind of what you were saying?
So like if you're just driving it around in a spirited fashion, you don't really miss rear-wheel drive. You don't really miss all-wheel drive. It's just like, it feels good, you know, and with the limited slip, you can get around corners with no problem. Like, I'm sure if you're tracking it, that's a different story. But, like, who really tracks their cars that often? You know, like,
it's something people say, and then they don't end up doing it.
Right. It's like with off-road stuff. Everyone's like, well, off-road, this would be. It's like, when do you take your car off-road? Like, show me all the pictures of you off-road.
Yeah, I think that, you know, other people have said it best where, you know, you're buying a Jeep to tap into something that you want to do and you like, but just because you bought it doesn't mean you're going to do it now.
Right.
The GTI is a great all-around car. It's got good performance and the fun factor. It's a solid daily driver with a well-appointed interior. Some people might worry about the reliability or the cost of a German car. So what are the issues with this hot hatch?
Pretty much everything that goes wrong with these that I've heard of so far, because I mean the Mark 7 has only been out in the United States since 2015.
It's only 6 years.
So it hasn't been a long time, but it does use essentially the same basic engine architecture from the Mark 6, except it's been vastly improved. The DSG has been way, because didn't the Mark 6 have a dry clutch DSG?
I don't really care enough.
Yeah, well, they had problems, though, is the reason why that matters. So this uses a wet clutch, which is just, it's obviously the old wet clutch, yeah. But there haven't been many problems that I know of with the DSG and the 2-liter. In this, I think in 15 they had some issues, but they were very, you know, it's sort of like, you know, with the IMS bearing in the 996, you know, it was like 3 to 7% or something, and that's like, wow, crazy, like, ugh. This, I think it was less than 2% of cars were affected, and it was some issue with the spline on the turbo, I think.
Yeah.
So if you get 16 and up, you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and why would you not get that?
Right.
Like, so you don't want a 15 anyway, just forget about it.
Yeah, and then, you know, like, I forget the year cutoffs, but on, like, the 15, if you didn't get Performance Pack, you wouldn't get the Golf R brakes, you wouldn't get the bump in horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, you know, actually, I don't think it had a limited slip, and it was like a $2,500 option.
Yeah.
I believe the easiest way to tell if the car does have Performance Pack on earlier models is if it has red calipers.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had old glasses malfunction.
Yeah. But, you know, I also think that another thing is, so I was actually thinking about this the other day. So at least in the United States, the B7A4 was the first car, I believe, the first one that I'm aware of anyways, that had the 2-liter turbo.
Oh.
So if they haven't perfected it in 16 freaking years,
yeah, right.
Like, we have problems.
And as far as I know, I mean, like, people have been really happy. I mean, there are some people who've got over 100,000 on these already. If I was buying new,
which you will probably never do,
which I will probably never do, but that's just how I roll. So when I buy used, I tend to go Japanese, because that's. But I actually don't think that this would be a bad used proposition in, say, 2028. You're looking at a 2021 7-8-year-old car. These cars don't seem to have a lot of the issues that some of the older ones have had, and so I would probably be comfortable buying one.
Yeah, and we'll see how they age. But.
We'll see how they age, but I mean, so far all's well, and I think that for me, you know, because I own a Miata, and that's my fun car, and I also own a V6 Accord with a manual, and that's great as a daily. But I mean, I don't know. I think this is probably more fun than the Accord, even though it's not a manual. Mostly because I think what really makes a car fun is how it corners. And this is just, like we said before, it's just really flat. And,
I really enjoy driving this car. I almost enjoy driving it more than I do the S4 because you can almost have more fun. I do think that it's worth noting that for someone who's going to go and test drive one of these, Volkswagen actually says that you should only put 87 in this. So if you go and drive one on the lot, it's really not that quick.
You have 93 in it now. Right?
Yeah, so ever since we bought it, we've always put 93 in it, and it helped a lot. I think more with responsiveness than anything. But, you know, and like reading on the forums, it seems that that's a fairly common outcome where you put 93 in it, the car's faster, it's, you know, it feels more snappy and alive.
But that being said, the fact that you can safely run it on 87 is really nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the three of us came away with a generally positive experience. We really liked this car. And yeah, sure, the comfort is a little bit iffy in some respects. The seats are narrow and hard, and the ride is a little bit harsh. And yes, it's not going to be as reliable as your average Toyota or Honda. But what really is? But these cars will still be very solid, and especially if you get a 16 model year and up, I think you'll be fine. And this car offers something that a lot of those don't, and that's fun factor. This car is a hoot to drive, whether you get it in manual or in DSG. As you've seen, the DSG is a great transmission. So if you're looking for something fun, fairly reliable, and economical, we recommend that you put this one on your list. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more DIY videos, car reviews, and an upcoming podcast. Thanks for watching. Whereas with this, you're just like, click, hello, you know? Jeez, yeah, it's it's fun.
Taking the glasses right off your face.
It is, yes. I have broken glasses, so watch this video and maybe we'll make some money.